Welcome to the Weigh In Podcast, my ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you guys so much for continuing to support our podcast. Hit that subscribe button. I want to thank you guys for being with us for so long, and those of you guys that are sticking with us and sticking with podcast Keto George and podcast Dave and myself. I just want to say, hey man, thumbs up. I appreciate you guys continue to support us. I just did that little thumbs up thing. I want to. This is something I probably have never shown someone. People have caught on to it, but people have never seen. I don't think I've ever talked about this like publicly. I've got friends that know and stuff, but I was born this way, and my wife kind of thought it was she thought it was like I lost part of my thumb or something. But I have two, and my grandfather has it, who's full-blooded Yucky Indian, like Native American Yucky Indian. But he had it as well, so now I have it. It's this. I have one thumb that is like short and fat, and then I've got one thumb that's a little bit longer.
One looks like Keto George, and one looks like Podcast Dave.
One looks like a fucking toe, and one looks like a real toe. One looks like my fat toe, and one looks like a real toe. Oh, it's just hilarious. Yeah, I try to show people. I'm like if I show it to you this way, let me show you. Yeah, it's literally fucking like they're not the same length. Anyways, kind of quirky. Hey, just trying to let you guys know, that I'm a real human being, right? I'm not perfect. I know the jawline's perfect, the smile's perfect, the hairline's still good. I got scars here, but that's from fighting. I blame those on Tony Ferguson. That son of a bitch. All right, well, hey, I want to thank you guys, man. We had a great card tonight. It was a fantastic card. The main event, co-main event were a little slower. But look, there was a lot of things that we need to unwrap that happened, like from refereeing to taking points, not taking points, stoppages, not stopping the fight. It just was one of those nights where there was action packed, and then there was some controversial, things going on. These are the moments that I really wish that I had Big John with me, to break down these little things like this. So, but you know what though? I've been in the fight game long enough, and I've been with Big John long enough, and we've discussed all of these type of things before. And I'll give you my best knowledge on what should have been done and what should have taken place during these situations. But let's first talk RDR versus Brendan Allen is the main event. I thought it was a good fight, man. Like, it shaped up to be a good fight. The very first round was all RDR, dominant control, and you could just see that Brendan Allen came in understanding that I just need to be patient. Let the fight develop. Let everything happen in front of me. I'm not concerned with his grappling. Look, losing a 1 round of 5 in grappling, there's really no strikes. I would expected RDR to do a little bit more damage from the top position with how much control he had in that first round, but he didn't. I was expecting more elbows, the 12-6 elbows. I was expecting more, damage from the top. There was just nothing there. It was a lot of control, and that has a tendency sometimes to really wear on your arms. It really wear on your forearms, your back, your shoulders, everything, and that's kind of what we saw tonight. I felt like he had worked so hard to keep that top position against Brendan Allen in the first round. And in the second round, he came out and did the same thing right away. I was like, oh, this is impressive. He's doing it again. And then he slipped off the top. And then there was no answer. And I could even hear DC talking about like, oh, man, like you got to work to maybe getting back up to positions. You got to work to, work in some sort of sweep to get. And it just was never there. He decided just to hang out on the bottom and I think he believed that he could hit that inverted triangle. I think he believed that he could hit some sort of armbar from those positions, and it wasn't there. And Brendan Allen is very crafty on the ground, very crafty. What I saw though tonight was somebody that looked a little lost after the conditioning and cardio went away, like doing the damage on the feet, letting people kind of engage. With the Robert Whittaker fight, he was allowing himself to get into those mixes and pushed himself through. I just don't know if in this moment, did RDR get kind of complacent going like, Brendan Allen's not as good as Robert Whittaker. Did he take it for granted? Did he think that I'm not getting fluffy. Fluffy's already like beaten Brendan Allen, I think twice. And it just was one of those, did he get complacent? Did he think that like, I'm going to walk through this and I'm going to get to the title shot, and then this is where he ended up? I find it hard to believe that you moved your whole family all the way down to Florida to train at Killcliff, and then this is the kind of performance that you provided, conditioning-wise, performance-wise, everything. I I can't wrap my head around it. There's so much to unwrap, but I can't wrap my head around how he ended up having a performance like he did tonight, especially after the first round. He looked exhausted, just broke. Like Brendan Allen said, he was going to come out and I'm going to break him. I'm going to put so much pressure that, and land the strikes and then grind on him and not be concerned of his grappling. And all of those things were true. Brendan Allen came out and fought a great fight. Very composed, very relaxed, no pressure on him to really get the win, taking the fight on short notice and delivered. He delivered. I can't say much outside of that. I mean, I want to drag it on. I want to talk more about the main event, but there's not much to say. Brendan Allen had a great game plan. Survived probably round one. If I do get taken down, if I don't get taken down, cool. Let's go ahead and do some work on the feet. Round two, he was able to, he got taken down off the bat, but then he was able to get the reversal, I think like 2.5 minutes in. And then he did the rest of the work from the top position, landed some good elbows. You could see the damage on the side of RDR's face. That was a little causing a little bit of concern for the judge, not the judges, the ref, and also the doctors kind of looked into it. There was just a lot that Brendan has realized. The third round, very similar. He got taken down again right off the bat. You're like, damn, I just won the second round and I was dominant. Then I get taken down again. And then sure enough, as they were sweaty, Brendan Allen realized I can scoot you off one side. I can control you. Okay. And as you let go of the figure four, or as the figure four gets loose, I can go ahead and shake you off, and got to the top position and did more damage and did more work. Definitely won the third round. So he wins rounds 2 and 3. And what I loved is what he did to start round 4. He said, I'm having a very good performance from the top position. Let me come out and I'm going to go ahead and wrestle first. I'm not going to give him the opportunity to clinch me, get the double unders, hit me with a knee, and then try to drag me down or foot sweep me. He's like, I'm going to come out, shoot a double on you, and then lift, scoop, take you to my corner and dominate the top position. And that's exactly what he did. It was a beautiful performance, very high fight IQ performance. And what I loved about it was that he was very composed. That first round said a lot about Brendan Allen's mindset of, look, it's one round. No one wants to give up a round. We get that. No one wants to lose round one, going into a 5-round fight. But you also don't think to yourself, you're also not thinking, oh, it's over. I'm done. I don't know what to do. You're not thinking that in a 5-round fight. You're thinking, okay, I lost one. I've got 4 more. I've got to win 3. That's it. I can't give up another one. That's the mindset I think most fighters think about. I've had this conversation with Luke Rockhold, and I've had this conversation with Trevor Prengley, because Trevor Prengley, for those of you guys that don't know Trevor, he always looked fucking worse than RDR did tonight, but he just kept fighting, right? He looked horrible. He was always gassed, always, all of those things. But man, he just kept fighting. And we had to have these conversations about how you've got to work through it. You've got to, no matter how tired you looked, you got to just keep fighting. And in that situation tonight, RDR didn't have that in him. He came back after round 4, sat in the corner, and it was done. It was over. So I don't know what adjustments he needs to make. But you could tell when it came to the grappling, where you expected him to have the advantage, maybe not by much. People aren't giving Brendan Allen the credit that he deserves on the ground. He's a very well-rounded fighter. He's not the best striker. He's not the best grappler. He's not the best wrestler, but he does it all very well. And so when somebody's really good at one thing, like RDR is good at grappling and utilizing that knee, he just had to nullify those 2 things. And once he did that, it just seemed like the fight was slipping away from RDR. Rounds 2, round 3, round 4. And then by then they realized there was nothing left in the tank for RDR, and they threw the towel in. So great performance by Brendan Allen. I mean, I want to know how this is all going to end up now with Fluffy / Brendan Allen, RDR dropping it in the rankings. It's going to kind of stir up that whole thing. There was high expectations for RDR to be able to fight Chimaev, being he's a grappler, he's this, he's that. Well, we saw tonight that he needs to work on some things. I had a lot of high hopes for him because he is fun to watch. But tonight was not a good performance. Tonight, just Brendan Allen nullified everything he did. And after he nullified everything he did, he put a lot of pressure on him and he broke him. And that's kind of what we saw tonight. Brendan Allen did exactly what he said he was going to do. He was going to push the pace. He was going to let him, work his thing and not be concerned about anything he did. And it showed. And what a great performance. Let's go ahead and talk Mike Malott versus Kevin Holland. Wow. There's so much to like I said, to unwrap in this fight here. Round one was a very close round, but the thing is, DC said the same thing that I was thinking. I don't even remember what really happened in round one because it took so long to get back to the round one, the last, 30 seconds or 40, 50 seconds of the first round. And then when you get to round two, and then there was another delay starting round two, you start thinking to yourself, okay, this is taking forever. I don't even care about what happened in round one. And then round 2 and 3, Mike Malott won round 2 and 3, and that's what the judges had it. And I was leaning more towards Kevin Holland in the first, but it was still almost a very close round. He was able to rock, Malott with the jab and do all the other, but in that scenario, in that type of, I had forgot all the action that had happened in round one because of the 5 minutes with the growing. And then there was a lot going on. But I'm going to say this, all the years that I've worked with Big John, and we've had conversation after conversation about these type of situations, it came down to the referee. Okay. Dan Murgliata tonight, he had a bad night, and I like Dan, nice guy, super funny guy to be around. He just had a bad night because this wasn't the only mistake that he made tonight. It just came down to once you tell him, hey, can you fight? Can you not fight? And then you're giving him more time not on the stool, but in the corner before the round starts. If he doesn't answer you, it's over. And I don't want to do that to fighters because I am a former fighter. I'm somebody that, of course, we're trying to buck the system a little bit. We don't want to answer. We don't want to say no because it's not in us to say no. We want to continue. But where this gets nasty is not nasty. This is where it gets a little complicated for the fan at home. Is in the first round, once he went through his 5 minutes, had he said he couldn't continue, it would have been a no contest. It wouldn't have went to the judges' scorecards. It would have went to a no contest. But because he decided to fight that last 50 seconds, it would have been a DQ. He didn't continue. If he didn't come out after the second round, right, and he was standing there, it was a DQ. Once you say yes, it was a very similar situation with Henry Cejudo and I think Song Yadong, right? Where Henry continued to fight, but had he just said no, they would have probably went to the scorecards, I think, in that situation, or they would have just ruled it a no contest or something along those lines, I believe is what it would have been with Henry. Very similar in this fight. In this fight, if he would have just said no, it would have been a no contest. And they would have moved on. Hey, look, both fighters go back to their locker rooms, collect their show money or whatever it is, and talk to the doctor and move on. But because he decided to say yes, and he finished off the last 50 seconds or whatever it was of that round, and then he didn't come out and really answer the bell in the second, they gave him ample time. You had the doctor in there, the ref in there, you had some the other guy in there, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, who works for the UFC. He's like, hey, I need you, are you going to fight or not? And he just kept ignoring him. No, are you going to fight or not? Once he doesn't answer, the question should be hey, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to make a decision. If you don't use your words, if you don't tell me, yes, I'm going to fight, then I'm DQing you. And you got to put the fighter in that position. Are you going to fight or not? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nope. Fights off. You've got that. This tonight, because had Kevin Holland been able to come back and win in the second round, it would have been very controversial. It's already very controversial because of all the things that happened. I also not sure if in the first round, if Dan should have taken a point. There's that. Because we've had these conversations. I've had this conversation with John on the Weigh In podcast, and I've had it multiple times with John and other referees as well. How long do we got to wait, for these guys to take points? Whether it's a 2 fingers in the fence, as I like to say, the little 2 finger, if it's 2 fingers in the fence, you meant to grab it. It's a point. If you grabbed and let go real quick, I would probably be a little bit more understanding of that. But people that hold for more than a second, to me, that's pretty much you understood what you were doing. You grabbed the fence. I know sometimes it's natural reaction to grab and then let go, but if you grab it for longer than that, quick, that should be a point. The growing shots, there was 2 growing shots in one round. It was very obvious that one committed a lot of pain. That started to skew the fight. Kevin Holland didn't fight the same after that fight, after that second growing shot. I would have taken a point. Not that it would have, I mean, it's one of those, Dan had a bad night tonight. To me, I felt like it was, he let Kevin Holland dictate how long he had it. I know the 5 minutes you're allowed to get. But then after the bell rang, they went back to their corners for another minute. And then the fight was delayed. They had the ref in there, the doctor in there. They had the UFC, somebody else in there. Like, once you don't respond, you wave the fight off. So, look, the reason why I'm not as upset over the whole situation is the right person won. And that also goes into one of the other fights, later on with the Kyle Nelson and Matt Frevola situation, also with Dan Murgada. Very simple, but it goes into that where I'm like, okay, like the right person won. So I'm not going to, luckily the right person won. It would be a lot worse for Dan, I believe. The media coming down on him, the commission probably coming down on him, and the promotion obviously being a little upset too. Like, just like, hey, they want the refs to get it right. And I know it's a very fast-paced job. For everyone sitting at home going, oh, I can do that. No. Why do you think there's less fighters doing it? There's not a lot of fighters doing this because even though they know the sport and they pretty much kind of have a good idea of how to wrap their head around the rules, there's just so much going on. And no, not all of them can do it. Jalin Ribeiro does it. Frank Trigg does it. Chris Lieben does it. Paul Bonatello is starting to do it. I saw Vladimir Manishenko is also doing it. He's in the beginning process like Paul Bonatello is. There's fighters trying to get into it right now because they enjoy being on the road and traveling and doing these things and being part of the sport still. But it's not an easy job. It's not. And there's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of homework that goes into it. You have to know the fighter that you'll be reffing. And some of them don't actually get their fights until the day of because they don't want the betting lines to be skewed. They don't want people to know who's reffing what until that day because of betting stuff coming in, being more involved now. So there's a lot. Look, overall, the Mike Malott and Kevin Holland, it was just surrounded with controversy on how this was all handled. Bad situation. But hey, a win for Mike Malott. I thought he looked good in rounds 2 and 3. Good performance. Good job by him. Letting all the other stuff and all the noise get out. I like his little jokes and cracks at the very end about how, it's like I knee him and he's this tall and this. I thought it was pretty good for him. It was good for him to break the ice, and I think he understands. Like, look, that was a big win for him. That puts him in the top 15 rankings. And he needed that. So Amin Zahabi versus Chito Vera. Another fight that I thought this was a fantastic fight. I thought Amin Zahabi, and I'm gonna give DC a lot of credit in this too, because he was talking about how, and I was noticing the same exact thing, that Amin Zahabi only was fighting well when he put the pressure. When he was backing up, when he was, on the outside, Chito was picking him apart, ripping the body, hitting him with some good shots. But as he started to go ahead and come forward and just throw caution in the wind, he was having a lot more success. And it was a really good fight. They both had moments in that fight. It really came down to how you judged the third round. I had it 1-1 going into the third, and the third round was a very close round. I don't know how you guys scored it. I had people online basically saying like, hey, it was very clear that Zahabi won. It was, I had my buddy Ian Parker. I saw him saying it was very clear that Zahabi won. I was leaning towards Zahabi in the third round. But it came down to Chito, just like I talked about on the midweek show. He has a tendency to sometimes just not have enough volume. He lands good, clean, hard shots. But in the third round, he didn't land that hard shot that he needed like he did with Rob Font several times. That won him the whole round because he rocked him and hurt him. He wasn't able to do that in this fight in that third round. It was 1-1 going into the third. It came down to who won the third. I was leaning towards the hobby, but I even said this on X. I said, hey, this is a very difficult fight to judge. A very fun fight, a very good fight. They both had moments. But it was if I was a judge, I said I'd hate to be a judge to judge this fight right now. And I know there's a lot of people saying, "Hey, water's wet and this and that." Like you're gonna, no matter what's gonna happen, is the hobby's gonna win the decision in Canada. Like that's like as true as water is wet. Like Zahabi's gonna win a decision in Canada, and it kind of makes sense, right? His brother, his brother also trained George St. Pierre and Roy McDonald and is a legend kind of in the MMA world in Canada. Like, what did you think they were going to do? Did you think they were going to they were going to judge against the Canadian? But regardless, though, I still had Zahabi winning the third. It was close, though. Like I said, I'm not saying that if I wouldn't have been mad if it was cheat, though. I wouldn't have been like, oh, what a ripoff, and they screwed him. No, it wasn't that. It was a good fight. It was a good fight. Both of them had their moments. Who had a great performance tonight, though, was Fiorot versus Jasudavicius. I mean, there's not really much to talk about. An absolute great performance by her. I thought Jasmine, if you are someone that knows, and I go back to the Cain Velasquez versus Junior Dos Santos fight all the time, because first fight, Cain goes out. He had tore his knee the week before. UFC came in and said, hey, we need you to fight this. You're going to be the only fight on Fox. It's a huge deal. We need you to fight. He steps up. They take care of him. Financially, they take care of him. And so he does that fight. He loses. But the second fight, when he fights Junior Dos Santos, you know what he does? He literally runs out there, throws 1-2 punches, boom, right away to the takedown, and then chases Junior around on his hands, not on his hands and knees, but on his knees, just shooting doubles, chasing ankle picks, shooting low enough to where he couldn't get hit with a big shot. Jasmine Jasudavicius tonight, she should have been out there, punch, clinch. She should have been trying to get to those legs, get to that body lock as fast as she possibly can, until Malott started to get a little tired, till the arms started to kind of feel a little heavy, things started to take that snap off of her punches and those type of things. And that also makes the hesitation for Malott to throw her shots. We've seen it multiple times in other fighters. They become very hesitant when they're afraid of being taken down. And in this fight, Jasmine came out. She was standing. But with someone like Malott Fiorot, like where she is known just for stand-up, she's known for also being a bigger body fighter for the flyweight division. She is one of those fighters where Jasmine should have came out and just try to get to the leg, get to the body lock right away to start to hang on her, wear on her, take that snap off of her punch. She didn't do that. She came out and stood a little bit. I mean, I know the fight wasn't long, but look, in a minute 15, minute 20, she had enough time to at least try to get into that clinch position. At least start making Malott think about the wrestling, the grappling, the control, like all of those things. Make her more hesitant to throw the punches because she wants to dig the underhooks. She's going to have to drop those hands to get those underhooks to keep her from being taken down. She also was worried about, Malott was worried about putting her back foot on that fence. You saw her lateral movement. She did a great job of that. But Jasmine also was letting the strikes fly. She was throwing the jab, pumping the shots. Like she had a good game plan, it seemed like, up until the moment she got caught. And so she needed to close that distance, get into that clinch a lot sooner, and she didn't do that, and it cost her the fight. Like, there's not much to talk about. It's a minute fight. It was a minute and 15 seconds, I believe, is what it was. But overall, I thought Malott looked good. I expected a little bit more out of Jasmine. She did I don't know if you guys recall it, but I can't remember what fight it was, but Kevin Lee got put on like this stanky leg. Like that. I want to say it was against Barboza. I think Barboza had rocked him or something like that, and he put him on the stanky leg. It reminds me of Zab Judah too when he was fighting. I want to say he was fighting either Floyd or he was fighting someone. I can't remember. Zab Judah got the stanky leg too, where one leg goes stiff and the other leg is like they kind of both go stiff, but one goes to the right and one goes to the left, and they're kind of doing the Bambi on ice thing. And that's what Jasmine Jasudavicius looked like tonight. So she got hit with a clean shot on the step in, and Malott pulled out right away. Beautifully done by Malott, and great performance. Charles Jourdain, another one. His drop down to 135 in the bantamweight division, I think, is going to be key. It's going to start opening doors for him. Great performance by over Davey Grant tonight. Beautiful highlight reel knockout. These are the things that the UFC looks forward to. Not because it was a highlight reel knockout, but it's because somebody like Charles Jourdain is going to be active. They love that he wants to fight more. They love that he's keeping his weight down. They love that he's going down to 135. They love that he's in this position to where we have now a fighter that will fight frequently, and he's exciting. He will go ahead and let it hang out. The jumping knee, he tried that several times. Jumped on that neck too for the guillotine. He landed some good hard shots from the top position before he jumped the neck. I thought it was a great performance by him. He looked so calm, so composed. He looks good for the weight class. You know what I mean? Paul Felder was saying, when he was fighting at 45, he would literally never cut weight. He would just walk around. He just step inside the cage. And sometimes that's great. But these guys now, these days, are getting huge. They are huge for whatever weight class that you're fighting in. And so I look at, you look at certain guys like JDM, right? Jack Della Maddalena, Islam for 155 is huge. JDM for 170 is huge. These guys are big guys. I mean, I take a look at RDR. He's enormous for middleweight. Huge. And there's just certain guys that just their body style makes them look big. For Charles Jourdain, his cut from 45 to 35, it was a very, very, very smart idea, because you look at his body frame and he could have made the way. He could make the cut, and he still looks good in terms of his performance. He doesn't look sucked in, and he doesn't look decrepit and emaciated, and he doesn't look like shit. He looks good at that weight class. And but he's fun to watch, man. And if I'm the UFC, I'm like, this is great. This is awesome. I have a guy now that really wants to fight. He's fun to watch fight. Fans can get behind him. He's great on the mic. He's very, he's just fun. And so I look at this 135-pound division, and if I put him in that mix, you got those little mix, Kyler Phillips, Vinicius Oliveira, somewhere in that mix, a Montel Jackson, he could probably do.
He called out Marcus McGee after the fight.
That's a great call out. Absolutely a great call out. I love that fight. Stylistically, it's a fun fight. Marcus McGee is a stud coming off his loss to Petr Yan, but that's, and he had a great performance against Petr Yan. Just Petr Yan was just a level above him, almost 2 levels above him. But Marcus McGee is a very tough fight. A tough fight. I love that call out. Someone who's got a little bit of a name and somebody that people respect, and is a very dangerous fighter. And the UFC loves when you make their job easy and say, okay, well, who do you want to fight? And you're inside the cage and you call it out, and the fans can kind of get behind it. It makes sense. Hunter Campbell and Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby, they don't have to do their job. Okay, they'll call up, up Marcus McGee and be like, hey, you just got called out. You want that fight? Yeah, we'll do that fight. Okay, cool. Let's get you guys probably before the end of the year, or let's get you early January or February. Let's get you on the card. I think that's one of the benefits of having someone like a Charles Jourdain, because he does want to fight often. He does, and he's fun to watch. So I think the fans can get behind that. I'm excited to see where he goes in the 135-pound division, because he's a fun fighter to watch. I love watching him fight. So you have Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frevola. Like I said, another one, there's a lot to unwrap. And it comes down to basically Kyle Nelson's got Frevola hurt. He's on top where he's doing damage. You hear the clacker at 10 seconds. And in the mind, right? And I've talked with referees and even John, but mainly referees that were active at the time. We're talking about, when I hear the clacker, I go 10, 9, 8, 7. And they just kind of in their mind. And so I don't know what he heard, but it sounded like he had said he thought he had heard the horn, but the horn didn't go. But he thought he had heard the horn. So I don't know if it was a fan that was, out there yelling or screaming. He thought that was the horn. Who knows? We've heard some women out there in the audience that can be pretty loud.
Like Eddie Alvarez's wife.
Yeah, she's wild, man. She's wild. Hey, man, nothing like, a wife that loves you that much. She's out there letting everyone know. But Kyle Nelson, so Dan steps in, stops the action with 2 seconds left. I will say this. Frevola was not out. He was in trouble, but he wasn't out. Now, he could have been out with 1 or 2 more shots. I can't say, because I'll never know. And if anyone else says that they'll know, they're lying. Okay. But in 2 seconds, he would have had to hit him with a very clean shot within that two shots to get it. He was hurt. He was in trouble. I'm not going to deny that. But Dan didn't wave off the fight. The way the fight was stopped, he went back to the corners. It did seem like I thought, I did understand. As soon as it happened, I was like, oh, this fight's not over. I was like, wait, did he stop that? Like he's not. How did he stop it? If you watch the damage he was taking, it wasn't enough to stop the fight. I said, did he think the round was over? And then sure enough, I hear DC and I hear everyone saying, oh, what a great performance. He stopped the fight. And then they go, oh, wait, no, he didn't. I'm like, yeah, he didn't stop it. They're still fighting. And so it was a big flip in the script when it came to the energy level of DC and Paul Felder and the announcers talking, going, wait, this is not over. Holy cow. And that's very difficult for someone like Kyle Nelson, because the energy of believing that you won the fight, because it showed coming into that second round. I don't know if you guys go back and watch the second round, the beginning of the second round, first 2 minutes, Kyle looks like he's lost out there. It's the energy, the adrenaline dump of I won. Oh no, I didn't. Shit, I got to keep fighting. Matt Frevola comes out. He's like, he's like, I got a second chance. Okay, I'm going to make the best of it. He comes out really well in the beginning of the second round. And then slowly Kyle Nelson starts taking over, and then into the next round and so forth. But he ends up, obviously winning the fight by decision, but I don't want to get too upset over it because the right person won. It just sucks that Kyle Nelson had to fight the other two rounds, which is another 10 minutes of fighting. And he was doing really well after he got rid of the adrenaline dump and halfway through the second round. He realized, okay, look, now it's time. I got to keep fighting. I'm going to get this win. So that was the situation that happened in that fight. Dan, another mistake, and it's unfortunate because it feels like when it's fucking raining, it's pouring. For a referee, it can happen in a snowball, it's like a snowball effect where it just starts rolling. You're like, oh, geez, man, damn, what did I do now? And you just start, I would imagine refs just start second guessing themselves, going like, shit, should I say, okay, is it too soon? Should I not? Is it not? Like, so in that situation, it was a mistake, but ultimately the right person won the fight. In both situations, the right person won the fight. I talked about Drew Dober and Kyle Prepolec. I talked about this fight on the midweek show. I said, do not miss this fight. This fight will be a great fight. Sure enough, it was a great fight. It just came down to Drew Dober had committed a foul. He understood that, hey, I've committed the foul. I got my point taken away. No matter what I do, I need to get a finish. Otherwise, it could be a draw. And so, what did he do? He came out and said, "Screw it. What do I have to lose?" This is why people love Drew Dober. I love watching Drew Dober. I will tune in to watch him fight every single time because he leaves it all out there. These are the type of. This gives me throwbacks, like feelings of like old school fighters are like, I'm going to lose or I'm going to get a draw. What is the point of me being in here if I don't get my win money? And he just bit down on the mouthpiece and said, I'm coming forward. I'm throwing big shots, making you work backwards. Because there's a, for Kyle, there was a little bit of that complacency of like, oh, I've got a point. He's got a point deducted. I'm winning this round or I'm winning this fight because of it, or it's going to be this or that. Fighters think that way. They think, oh, he's got a point taken away. I'm fine. That's not the case. That person now has nothing to lose if they really believe they had nothing to lose and they come out and get after it. And that's exactly what happened. Kyle fought a different fight after the point was taken. He allowed Drew Dober to come forward, throw big shots, and he just backed away and covered up and looked like he just tried to circle and stay away. He didn't really try to make it a fight anymore. He was comfortable taking his 1 point and being like, all right, I'm good. That is not how fights are won. That is a huge mistake mentally by a fighter. If you allow yourself to just ease into it the rest of the fight because your opponents had a point taken away, that's how you lose. And that's exactly what happened tonight. That's exactly what happened tonight. So a very crappy situation, for Kyle. He came up, he just meant like a mental lapse is really the way that I look at it. A mental lapse. So I want to go ahead and say, I don't know how to say this guy's name, is Aori. He had a great performance as well. Beautiful timing on the shot. Stepped in off the leg kick. Stepped in beautiful. Caught him perfectly. Put Cody Gibson out. Another honorable mention in Bruno Silva. Nicely done by him. He was all over the place. Fighting a great fight. Very well rounded. Doing the work on the feet. Doing the work on the ground. Chased the submission, got the submission. I thought it was a great performance by him. So overall, the fight card, I mean, I rated it probably, I'd say give it an 8.5. I thought there was the main event and co-main event. The co-main event because of the controversy, and the main event because it didn't lack. It lacked like the excitement. But I can't take anything away from Brendan Allen. He had a great performance. He dominated after round 2. It was just round 2 he dominated. Round 3, he started off a little where he lost the takedown, but then he dominated that round, the rest of the round. Then he dominated round 4. Made him quit on the stool. Great performance. It wasn't knockdown, drag out like we were all hoping, but it was a great performance by Brendan Allen. Puts him right into that top 4 or 5 with that performance. So, I thought the card overall was a good card. I give it an 8.5, and I loved it. I thought it was a fun card. So if you guys liked it, drop some comments down below in the comment section. Let me know what you thought. Was out of 10, 1 being really low, crappy card, and 10 being the best you can give it. Give me what you guys thought about the card. I thought it was a great card tonight. And if you guys like this channel, if you guys are liking what I'm doing right now, and by the way, if you guys haven't checked it out, I have the Umar Nurmagomedov interview. It's the full interview. We did, I think, about 35, 40 minutes. It's a great interview. Umar and I, we go way back in terms of our training. He came into AK when he was 19 years old. And we, he talked about at the very end of this interview, he says, used to help me a lot, used to give me a lot of advice, used to help me with submissions and techniques and stuff on the ground. And he's kind of, I plan on possibly going out to New Jersey to kind of get some work in with the boys here coming up. So if that happens, I'll try to video log it for you guys, and you guys can take a look at that type of footage as well. You guys watch me get my ass kicked by all the current fighters. For those of you guys that don't like me, I'm sure you'll get some pleasure out of it. But I think it'd be great to get back over there and catch up with them and get some rounds in with them and roll with them and get some interviews with them and have an opportunity to spend time, catching up with the guys. It's been a long time. I haven't been able to hang out with them for a long time. So hit that like and subscribe button, hit the bell notifications. We're dropping shows. I got 2 big interviews coming on Monday that I'll be doing during the day. And then whenever George gets done editing them and putting them up, you guys can have those throughout the week. And, but right now we're going to go ahead and talk about some news. But hit that subscribe button to the channel. I want to thank you guys for following me on the Weighing In Podcast. What do you got for me there, George, for some news?
All right. So on October 16th, sadly, the MMA world lost a wonderful coach in Duke Roufus. I just thought it would be right to pay some respect to him, to his family. God bless you guys. He coached many champions, Tyrone Woodley, Anthony Showtime Pettis. Just a pretty, Ben Askren, just a very impactful man to the MMA world. All due respect to his family.
Yeah, very sad situation. I found out yesterday, mid-afternoon, that he had passed away in his house. I don't want to give any other details out. Let the family do that. That's not my business. But I do want to send my condolences to the family. Duke was a very, very great. He was a great person. It was fun to be around anytime, and it was funny. I heard them joke about it, but if you got past Duke with just a hi and a hello, you were winning that day, because if he stopped to talk to you, it was, you were there, you were standing there realizing you had to get your way to the weigh-ins, or you had to get your way to the presser, or had to get to work, for Bellator. And if I caught him, man, he could talk your ear off, but it was always in love and fun. And he was a great guy to be around. Great guy. I actually reached out to Anthony Pettis and Sergio and just told them, because it hadn't been broken yet, but I'd found out earlier in the afternoon yesterday. And I said, hey, man, I know that he was like a father to both you guys. And I just want to let you guys know, man, that I'm sorry. My heart goes out to you guys. Obviously him and his family as well. But, I want to let you guys know I'm thinking of you guys in this moment because, their father was killed, and he kind of took that place a little bit as Anthony said, and he just said like he meant so much to them, both of them. So it's very sad, very sad. Ben Askren was he was Ben Askren's coach as well. Tyron Woodley, Rafion Stotts, a lot of top level fighters came out of that gym. Fantastic fighters, and not just fighters, but fantastic people. He built a good chemistry out of that gym that people wanted to go to in fucking Milwaukee of all places, right? Like people were like who wants to go to Milwaukee to train? But he built something there that made people want to go there. That's huge. That's huge. So my heart goes out to him and his family. And a little tidbit there is, my coach was a guy named Derek Ewan. I had Javier Mendez, but I also had a Muay Thai coach, and my Muay Thai coach was Derek Ewan. Derek Ewan had first started training Muay Thai, basically like in the U.S. because he's from Canada. First started training under Duke Roufus, and he is extremely close with Duke Roufus. So just a very, and I got I would say I got the lineage of Duke Roufus translated through Derek Ewan because of Duke Roufus. I mean, Duke taught Derek so much, and then Derek used that energy to teach me and coach me. And, the little punch down, throw the head kick, to Nate, that came from Derek Ewan. Him and I had worked on some fun combinations and goofing around, and it came from him. Now, I don't know if he got that from Duke, but the bottom line is it's such a small world. We all know each other. We've all worked with each other. Like it's really sad when we lose a member of our family, Sean Tompkins, when he had passed, and then now, Duke Roufus, and there's been many of coaches and trainers and fighters that have passed. That it's a sad day. It's a sad day in our MMA community. So I just want to wish everyone the best that ever trained with him, that knew him more so than I did, but he was always a wonderful person to me, very respectful, and always had a great energy. So want to just say, wish you nothing but the best, and rest easy, my friend. Well, until we meet again. What else?
All right, on a bit of a lighter note, November 14th on the Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis undercard, we have a rematch between Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman for their third fight. Thankfully for both of them, there's no leg kicks involved. It's going to be boxing. But what do you think about this matchup?
I mean, look, anytime these older guys can get a little extra paycheck, I mean, I don't know what they're making, but good for them. I don't know. I mean, if you're still willing to train and still willing to get busy and you're still willing to get punched in the face, and this is one of those fights that there's name value there for both of them, go ahead and let them do it, man. Like if people are going to tune in, they're going to tune in to watch Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. Might as well tune in to watch you too. So I think that's a great idea. I think you have that. It makes perfect sense. So good on them. Good for them for putting it together. It's boxing only. I mean, Chris has always been known for being a wrestler, and Anderson's been known for his stand-up, but he's also 50 something years old now or something like that. So, I mean, Chris is a little bit younger, but it's still going to be one of those fights. It's going to be one of those fights that we're going to find out. It's boxing. There's only one thing they got to work on, and they can go out there and have some fun.
Heck yeah, definitely. Well, for some other news in the MMA world, after his March 8th fight against Ignacio Bahamondes, Jalin the Tarantula Turner retired. But recently he announced that he is making a comeback from his retirement. So what do you think about this, coming back from retirement so soon? I know he said the Dan Hooker fight took a lot out of him. He didn't like causing so much pain. He had to get closer spiritually, find himself. I think it's very important for fighters to find themselves. So what do you think about this? And who do you think he should fight coming back to the 155 division?
I mean, I wonder, I'm assuming he still has a contract with the UFC, so he'll be back to the UFC. If I take a look at the weight class, and let's just talk about, the top 15, do you put him in there with someone in the top 15? I would say, yeah. Maybe not your first fight back, but I would say you probably put him somewhere in that mix there. I mean, what about him and Mauricio Ruffy? That'd be a fun fight.
That was the exact fight I was thinking.
Yeah, Mauricio coming off a really poor performance, and Jalin Turner, who is absolutely fantastic on the feet. The two of them would be a fun fight. You know, Jalin may try to get a takedown. I doubt it, but like he can wrestle and he has been known to get a takedown or two. And Mauricio Ruffy, you know, very explosive on the feet, kind of tall and lanky for the weight class as well. Makes for a perfect fight. And now in terms of him coming back on such a short, after a short retirement, good for him. Sometimes we have to tell ourselves, I'm done, and just walk away. And then within like say 6 to 8 weeks, you're like, what am I doing with myself? Yeah, like you just want to tell yourself, I'm done with this sport. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't like, but then you find yourself still in the gym every day. You're still, you know, having lunch with people that you were training with all the time. You're still going out and having drinks with people. And they're like, when are you coming back? You know, and you're like, no, I'm done. And then, you know, a month goes by, 2 months goes by, and you're like, all right, I haven't really done anything in 2 months. Sometimes your brain and your body just need a break. And luckily for me, I was always hurt. So I had plenty of time to get breaks. I was always injured. But, you know, some guys, you know, they don't get injured, or they do, but they, you know, that's not enough to really, you know, take them out for months on end. I'm good. I'm happy with him coming back. He's a fun fighter to watch. His body style, because he's tall, long, and lanky, he's always dangerous. I'm excited to have him back. I think him and Mauricio Ruffy make for a very, very good fight. Fantastic fight. I'd love to see that fight. Love to see it. So I'm glad he's back.
I am too. I'll be very excited to watch him any card. Crowd, no crowd, Apex, stadium. Put him on the card. But in some other MMA related, boxing related news, Jorge Masvidal has won a judgment for over $5 million after suing Famio for non-payment from the Nate Diaz fight. I know you've given some warning flags about some of these organizations recently, but what do you think about this?
Good for them. You know, I mean, they did fight. They did bring in. It was a sold out crowd. I was there. I worked it. I did the desk interview with Floyd Mayweather on that fight. I've got video footage and all this other stuff of me working the show. I got paid. You know I didn't get paid what these guys are getting paid, but I'll be interested to see if they do get paid though, because just because you won the case doesn't mean that Famio just can't file bankruptcy and just. I know there's a lot of other little things that would have to happen, but yeah, I don't know the ins and outs of how their contract was structured. The Nate Diaz situation was a little bit more unique than the George Masvidal situation. Masvidal did everything he was supposed to do on his contract. Nate Diaz did not do everything that he was supposed to do on his contract. So that's kind of what the holdup was when paying Nate. I didn't know that Masvidal was part of that and not getting paid. And so George was doing more because Nate wasn't covering his end of the media services. Like he was supposed to do media leading up, I think the last like 3 weeks, and he had media obligations that were in the contract, and he just wasn't doing all of them. He was skipping them when he wanted to, and that's been known. Nate's been known for that. Like you got to know what you're getting yourself into. But they did pack out the crowd. You know, we were at the Honda Center, and it was a sold out arena. The prices were priced fairly, so everyone could go. I think like the upper bowl was $25 a ticket. And when you got down in the lower bowl, I think it was like $125 or something, or $75 down to $125. And then I think the front row was like $300.
That is
so they were
not
very
bad.
That's not bad at all.
I know amateur fight cards.
Reasonable.
I know amateur fight cards that are $60, $70 a ticket.
Yeah.
And it's general admission.
So, yeah. And this was very it was very reasonably priced. But it was sold out. The crowd was electric. You had Ryan Garcia's brother fight on there. Amato Fernandez, or who was it? Amato. Who was his dad? He fought De La Hoya. Damn it! That's off the top of my head. Anyways, they're like Sugar Shane Mosley's son was on the card. They had some star power with the kids of professional boxers that we've all grown up watching. So they did a good job of marketing that whole thing. And it came down to the fact that, I don't think they made the money they thought they were going to make, because they priced the tickets a little bit too fair for everyone to come see. And I don't think the pay-per-view numbers did what they thought they were going to do, because people stream shit now and it's free. Like they steal it. And so they didn't make the numbers that they thought they were going to make. And this is a big reason why you're seeing the UFC jump to, you know, a CBS, Paramount, you know, paywall, a cheaper paywall than doing pay-per-views. And this was just, you know, a year ago. This was, I think, not this last July, but the July before. So they're just getting it all figured out now. We'll see what happens and if they actually get their money, but I hope they do, because they put on a great fight. It was a fun fight. They put on a great card. That whole card was a great card. So hopefully Femio ends up giving them, you know, paying them, and it works out for them. I want the fighters to get paid no matter what. I want the fighters to get paid. And that's something that I think people forget, that the UFC is always paid. You know, Bellator is always paid. Strikeforce always paid. Like when you have a big organization, that's what's great about them, is that you're guaranteed to get your money. That's, you feel safe there. Sure, you're getting paid more, but it feels good. It feels good to get your money, knowing that your money is in a bond or it's in an account that the commission has set aside to make sure you're getting paid. That's what's good about fighting in these big organizations that are like more they're well organized, you know, and that's what the benefit is of fighting these organizations. You fight in some of these old school, man. I mean, I remember, give you guys a little story. I fought on a promotion up in Idaho, and I was the main event, and I was living in California at the time. I'm not from Idaho, but I went to high school in Idaho, and I started my fighting career in Idaho, in Oregon, Washington, Montana, in those areas there, because I was living in the Northwest when I was in high school. And I started fighting in there with Trevor Prangley and some other guys, you know, and we would travel all around and, you know, and do these fight promotions. Well, when I came back down to California and started training with Frank Shamrock and Bob Cook, and I went back up there, they had me as a main event in a smaller fight promotion. And they had guaranteed me, you know, $3,800 or $3,500 to fight. And that was a lot of money to me. I was like fucking rich if I got paid that. And I showed up and I looked, and Crazy Bob was my manager, kind of handling the management side of it all, and negotiations with the promoter that I was dealing with, who I had known because I had fought in some of his other shows when he was first coming up and building his promotion. And he took a look around in the venue. He's like, this is a huge venue, and there's only 700 people here. He's like, how are you making enough to pay Josh? So what he did was, he walked into the back where the cash register was, and he just hit the open drawer button, and he took $1,500 right off the bat. He's like, here, I want the rest when he's done fighting. So he just walked right up. That was gangster shit. Like Crazy Bob Cook we called him Crazy Bob for other reasons, but he was a gangster. He literally walked in and just goes, I don't see enough people in here to make sure that we get our money and everybody else on the card. There's 16 fights on this card. You're telling me you're going to pay everybody, and then my guy is the main event, which I was the main event. And I think in that fight, you know who I fought? I fought Cajun Johnson in that fight. Cajun Johnson went on to fight in the UFC several times. But yeah, I ended up fighting him. So Bob Cook walks over and hits the drawer open, the cash drawer, and he pulls out $1,500 and goes, I'll get the rest after he fights. So it was gangster, man. He's like, I got half your money. I got half your money. He's like, and that's fair, you know. And he's, I'll get the other half after you fight. I'm like, okay, cool. I was happy with it. At least I knew I got $1,500, because I want to remind you guys, I wasn't with the UFC at the time. I was doing these smaller shows, but UFC only signed me to 2-2 my first fight. I only made $4,000 my first fight. I was getting paid $3,500 to fight in a small show up in Idaho. You know, and to fight Cajun Johnson, who later on, you know, obviously did well for his fight career. But that was some of the knock early in the career in the UFC days. You know, Jeremy Horn, he didn't sign back with the UFC to fight Chuck Liddell because he was making, you know, 10 grand a weekend fighting bums in all these smaller shows instead of going to the UFC, where UFC was only willing to pay him like $5 and $5, and that was if he was to win. And his first fight back, I think, was Chuck Liddell. Like, they brought him back to fight Chuck, and then he lost. And then he goes on to fight Trevor Prangley, fight some other guys. But yeah, I mean, think about that. You're only bringing him back. He's barely making 20, 30 grand to fight, but he's making 10 grand a weekend or 15 grand a weekend to fight chumps. Where he just walks in, does like 2 minutes worth of work, and makes 15 grand. You're like, yeah, I'll do that instead.
Just guys like me.
Guys like you. All right, what else you got for me?
All right. So recently, Dana White said that Armin versus Dan Hooker is a number one contenders fight. So, what does this mean for guys like Paddy Pimblett? Does this mean Justin Gaethje's getting his title fight on the first Paramount card? This leaves a little bit of stuff up in the air still for the 55 division. But do you think this is the rightful number one contenders fight?
This is what I think. I think that it is the rightful number one contender fight. I don't know what they're doing with Justin Gaethje. I can't tell you. And I said this a while ago when Justin said, either I fight for the title or I retire. Dana hates that shit, man. He hates it. Doesn't matter. Like, you could have fought all these great fights for him. You start saying things like that, he's like, oh, that's how you're going to act? After everything we've done for you, giving you a promotion, we built you up as a star. Sure, you fought, but we've got you, monster deals and other deals and whatever it is. Like, we've put you in charity whatever it is, right? The UFC does do things for you on the backside, especially when you're someone like Justin Gaethje, who's got big star power. And for the fighter come out and be like, yeah, if I don't get a title shot, I'll just retire. That drives them crazy. I can, so the Dan Hooker and Armand fight, it makes sense. It makes sense. But I did see something though earlier today that Ilya basically said he's going to wait to see who wins the Islam and JDM fight. Because if Islam wins, he's like, I'm going to 170. Like, well, if Islam doesn't win, like, why do you not want to go to 170 anymore? Like, it's still three divisions. It's still three titles. You'll be the first one to win three titles. And JDM's going to stand with you and oblige. So I wonder what it is. It seems to be this like Georgian thing, or with Ilya, it's chasing Islam. With Merab, it's not chasing Umar because Merab's a champion, but it's like those little subtle jabs at Umar, like you call me old and you're spoiled. Your last name's Nurmagomedov, and it's weird how the Georgians have this thing with the guys from Dagestan or from It's weird. It's weird to me. I always expected them to be a little bit more on the same page, and it hasn't been that way. Like, literally, Ilya is doing everything he can to like chase after Islam, which is it's just weird to me. It's not weird. I shouldn't say it's weird. It's almost like, man, what did he do? What did he do to you? Did he like steal your lunch money when you were a kid? Like, why you like you're someone that's coming with like a vendetta. Like, you've got something, like something's really eating you inside that you want to go chasing him to another weight class, but also too chasing and reaching goals. That's great too. I think if someone can do it, Ilya can do it. I mean, that's a lot of weight to give up, but when you got the power that he has, it makes for a good talking piece, makes for a good storyline, something you can build on. So, in terms of Dan Hooker, Tsaryukya, great fight. Absolutely a great fight. Can Tsaryukyan's cardio last for the full 4 or 5 rounds? And can Dan Hooker survive the first 2 rounds, I think, and stay off of his back enough and not take enough damage to where he can really push on Armand in the later rounds, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to find out. Dan Hooker is always fun. I look at Dan Hooker. He's a little bit better version of a Drew Dober, but they're fun to watch, man. I'll always tune in for a Dan Hooker fight. I love watching him fight. He's so fun. And the same thing. That's the way I felt about Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. I'll always tune in to watch those guys fight. I love watching them fight. I love it. So I was told that Paddy was going to potentially get the title shot against Ilya because they want to capitalize on that as fast as they can, because there is a lot of the old school trash talk they had at the 145-pound division, and then now that they're at 55 and it works out perfectly, so, or at least Ilya is at 55 now, so and Paddy's right there, so they were chirping before and it never came about, so now that Ilya is at 55, it makes sense, and that fight to me is a bigger fight than the Tsaryukya and Dan Hooker fight. It's a way bigger fight that you can make. You've got all of the UK, and then you got all of Spain and Portugal and Georgia that we'll watch, for Ilya. So it makes for a very fun and I think a very profitable fight for them. But we'll see how it all shakes out. A lot of it has to do with how Islam does against JDM. That's what it comes down to, I believe.
Now, this is just a little extra on there. Did you see what Islam said about Dan Hooker when Dan Hooker praised Islam for moving up in weight to fight Jack Della Maddalena? He said, "Need new haters. The old ones are starting to like me."
It's true.
Is that Ali? Tell me the truth. Is that Ali?
No, that's that type of sense of humor is definitely Islam. A total Islam response. That's exactly how he is, man. He's just funny. He's look. They just, I don't know. People hate on them because they're so good, because they come from the Habib camp and they think they get the Habib privilege. I
They
think
hate us
whatever it
because
is.
they ain't us.
Exactly a little bit, but the boys have done a good job of winning fights. I mean, Islam hasn't lost in what, 6 years or some shit like that, some wild number. So there's a lot that goes into it, and people don't understand that a lot of these top-notch fighters, when these guys were making their run up, don't want to fight them. People didn't want to fight. None of the guys wanted to fight Umar. Corey Sandhagen stepped up and took the fight. Congratulations to Corey, man, for being a true fighter. Islam, a lot of guys didn't want to fight him on their way up. They're like, no. Like, I'm hurt, or I just, I want a different fight. And they didn't fight him. So when they say, like, yeah, they got privilege. No, the privilege was that no one wanted to fight them. So they had to find their way there somehow, some way. Eventually someone took a chance and fought him, and it was good. It worked out. So they've been champion. Well, not Umar hasn't been a champion, but Islam's been champion for a while now, several title defenses. Now he's trying it at 170. Good for him. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all shakes out at the end of the year. What big fights are going to come to CBS and Paramount starting in 2026. What else you got for me? Give me one more.
Okay, one more. Let me go with one that I think is a little bit better. So recently on the Pound for Pound podcast, Henry Cejudo revealed that the UFC 323 was supposed to be headlined by Volkanovski versus Lerone Murphy, but the promotion chose Merab instead, testing his star power with the main event spotlight. What do you think this says about the weight that Merab carries, being even a smaller division than the 45s and the tried and true champions like Volkanovski? What do you think about that?
I think if you watch the sport enough, and the more of the hardcore fans are starting to watch the sport more with this new TV deal, they're going to start getting into it a little bit more. I think it'll become free. The pay-per-views have gotten too expensive. Not only that, people are like, I'd rather go do something else and just watch it on the replay. Now that it's going to be available on CBS and Paramount, they can just tune in whenever they want, and they'll prioritize the ones that they want to fight, the ones that they want to watch, I should say. In terms of them checking Merab's star power, the star power grows when you're active. And he is obviously the most active champion this year. This will be the fourth fight of the year in the calendar year. No other champion has ever done that. And he's doing it. And why not? Reward him knowing that, hey, let's wrap up the ESPN deal with Merab. Merab's done a great job of building his fan base with his corny videos on social media, but his energy and his cardio and the way that his grinding, the way he's got his energy inside the cage, like, he's got personality that people are starting to see now. They didn't get it, in the beginning. I didn't get it. I'm going to be the first to admit I'm going to say what Dana said. I wasn't warm on him, in the beginning. I'm pretty warm now. When you're as active as he is, it's fun to watch. Like, sure, I mean, he has moments where, like, all right, he goes to the decision, all these things, but he's fun. He's out there pushing the pace. He's out there breaking people. He's making them fight an uncomfortable fight. As a former fighter, that is like your dream, is to make someone start to wilt in front of you. Sure, the knockout is great. The submission is great. It feels good to get out of there before the time is up. You're like, yes, all that work, and I'm done in 4 minutes, or I'm done in 7 minutes. I'm done in 12 minutes. It's like so awesome. Like, yeah, I didn't have to go the full 25 minutes or the full 15 minutes, right? It feels good. But to look across the cage and you're face to face with someone and you guys are exchanging blows and you just see them take a step back, that look in their eyes of like, oh, that hurt, or I'm wilting, or I'm tired. They don't have the output that they had, that they were expecting to have, and you were expecting them to have, and you realize that you're breaking them. There's no better feeling. That's like, when people ask me what I miss about fighting, I miss that feeling. I miss that feeling of like, man, because I felt like I was one of those guys that could normally try to break you with cardio. I emphasize my cardio was like my biggest thing. If I had to choose if I had to choose hitting mitts or doing bag work or sparring or doing my cardio, I always did cardio. Always. And just that was the feeling of, I want to break them. I want to push them into the late third round, or, second, third round, and make them, and as Habib would say, make them discover themselves. See if they could push through like I can push through. There was not a lot of great takeaways from the Tony Ferguson fight. I got my fucking ass kicked. But my takeaway at the end of that fight was that I wasn't a quitter. There's a lot of things that fighters, I've seen a lot of world-class fighters, they get in trouble, they turn over belly down and give their neck so they can get choked, or they can just tap. That never crosses my mind, right? Those are moments in my life that I look at that fight, I'm like, this was not a very great, this was a horrible performance. But never in my mind, after even in the third round, when Bob's like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. He's like, you sure? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you gotta show me something, man, in this third round. I need to see something. I just got my ass kicked for 2 rounds. Like, so, and I did everything I could to show him something in the third round. Still didn't matter, didn't go my way, but I'm simply saying, like, that says a lot about a fighter, but that's what fighters dream of. Like, even when you lose, you still want to take the positive out of you want to take the positive out of your performance. And the positivity for me, or the positiveness of it coming out of that performance, was that I never quit. And I think a lot of fighters think that way. So, and guys like Dan Hooker, they live off of that. Dustin Poirier live off of that. Justin Gaethje live off of that. Max Holloway live. I mean, I just named off all these lightweights, but there's other fighters that are the same way. Merab, like his fight with Marlon Moraes, where he got fucking just obliterated and then survived, comes back and wins the fight. Just insane, right? And those are the moments that make you build confidence you could do it. And you see it in Merab. His performances have been fantastic, man. He's really coming to his own. He's developing fans. People want to see him fight. He's the champion of the toughest division in the sport right now. And if you listen to my interview with Umar, it's available on our YouTube channel. If you listen to that interview, he even says that Merab should be fighter of the year. That's impressive. He's like, even if Merab doesn't win this fight against Peter Yan, he's like, he should still be fighter of the year. Defending your title 4 times in a calendar year he'll be the first person to do it. That's impressive. You got to give the guy his flowers. So Merab is a stud. Love watching him fight. Cannot wait to see this fight, the second fight, his rematch with Peter Yan. Going to be a fantastic fight. So, hey guys, that's going to wrap us up for the Weigh In podcast. Hit that like and subscribe button. I want to thank you guys. It's been great. I read the comments. All of you guys that are commenting great stuff and being positive and just saying like, hey, Josh, keep doing the show. I appreciate you guys. Look, there's going to be some ups and downs, and I get it. Like we've already lost, I think 300 subscribers or something like that. But I've also noticed we've gained like 18 members. So that makes me feel good. I'm glad that you guys are joining our membership program. It's $4.99 for our elite club membership, which is basically I do giveaways once a month. And then we also have a $1.99 membership that when we do our live shows, I'm also doing a members only Q&A. I'm trying to do those once a week for you members. I want to thank you guys so much. I want to let you guys know I've got Frankie Edgar and Sean Brady doing, I'll be interviewing them on Monday, and we'll get those interviews out to you sometime probably next week. But I got those two. I've also got Misha Tate joining me on Tuesday night to break down the pay-per-view card on Tuesday night. So make sure you guys hit us up. She's got plenty of questions for her if you guys want. But she'll be joining me for the breakdown of the pay-per-view card on Tuesday night. She'll be my co-host for the one night. So, hey, we're just having fun with this right now and, working out all the kinks. It's hard, no matter how you slice it. It's hard to replace someone like Big John, right? Like tonight, I could have used him. All the rules and all the other shit that went on, I could have used them. But the bottom line is he'll be reffing some big time stuff. And also tonight was a moment where the UFC could have really used Big John, not just inside the cage, but they went to Mark Ratner at one point. You text me saying they went to an old guy to talk. I'm like, yeah, Mark Ratner boss the bosses though. But Mark Ratner has been was with the Las Vegas Commission for forever. And now he works with the UFC and he understands all these rules, obviously inside and out. But this is a platform that Big John could have been very helpful on breaking it down for, I think, a lot of people. So hopefully we see him back in the UFC cage soon, as well as other promotions. And I'm looking forward to it. Hit that like and subscribe button, hit the bell notifications. Thank you guys so much. And we are out.